This is a typical example of FAFO. I love it when these people are realizing that every single thing that they think they have is gone. Is gone. You know, white folks are now understanding why black excellence speaks louder. So now they have seen that every single thing that their superiors have literally told them is failing them. Black excellence, black smartness, black everything is now speaking out loud. I want you guys to watch this video. Take your time, watch this video, and let me know your honest opinion in the comment section. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, and also dropping super thanks. I really do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. With that being said, let's dive right into this video. I'll be back with commentaries.
One thing we're going to stop doing in 2026 is pulling the white privilege card. There's nothing that I, a Caucasian, can do that any other race can't do. Me and somebody else could go to the exact same job interview. Whoever gets the job, it's because that person was more qualified and had more experience. It's not because of our skin color. Privilege as a whole just does not exist anymore. Does it exist on a person-to-person basis? Of course, just like racism is a person-to-person basis. Not everybody feels that way. Majority of people do not have these shitty ideologies that people have adopted. I personally think a lot of people use white privilege as an excuse to just be lazy. I didn't get something because I'm white. I got it because I'm disciplined, I'm a hard worker, and I put in the time and effort. You're just lazy and you don't want to accept that, so you use white privilege.
I grew up on food stamps with a single mom with 4 kids, clothes that never fit right, and then I went no contact with my parents the day after I graduated high school. And I have been completely on my own ever since. No financial support, no safety net, nothing. So when someone told me I had white privilege, I wanted to flip a table because I knew what my life had actually looked like, and privilege was not the word for it. And honestly, I think this is where most people get stuck. Because when you hear white privilege, your brain hears easy life. It hears trust fund. It hears handed to you. And if your life has not looked like that, the term feels like an insult. But that's not what it means, not academically. And the woman who introduced the term into the broader conversation was very specific about that. Her name is Peggy McIntosh. She's a scholar at Wellesley College, and in 1989 she wrote an essay called White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. And in that essay, and in everything she wrote afterward, she was explicit. Her work was not about blame. It was not about shame. It was not about guilt. It was about unearned advantage, which she also described as exemption from discrimination. Read that one more time. Exemption from discrimination. Not a silver spoon, not a head start. The absence of a specific kind of obstacle that other people have to navigate. Someone finally explained it to me in a way that broke through. And I want to give you the same sentence they gave me. It's not about what you have. It is about the roadblocks you do not have to worry about. And once I heard it that way, I started seeing it everywhere in my own life. I had to walk in a bank with very little money, no cosigner, and no idea what I was doing to open my first bank account. That was hard, but nobody looked at me sideways when I walked in. Nobody asked me 3 extra questions. Nobody assumed I was there to cause a problem. I applied to colleges with no guidance counselor, no parents helping me write essays, no one proofreading my applications. That was hard, but my applications got read. My name on the top of that page did not get me filtered out before anybody saw my GPA. I've been pulled over before, and I was annoyed. I was worried about the ticket. I was worried about my insurance going up. I was not worried about whether I was going to make it home alive. That is the invisible knapsack McIntosh was talking about. It is the stuff you are carrying that you never had to put down at a checkpoint, because for you, there was no checkpoint. And this is the part where I want to be really clear, because I know somebody is in the comments typing, but that's just anecdotal. It is not anecdotal. We have decades of research on this. Economists Marian Bertrand and Senthil Mullainathan ran a study where they sent out identical resumes to employers. Same qualifications, same experience, same education. The only difference was whether the name on the top of the resume sounded white or sounded black. The white-sounding names got 50% more callbacks. Researchers from Stanford, Harvard Business School, and the University of Toronto found that black applicants got callbacks about 10% of the time when their resumes included identifiers that signaled their race. When they scrubbed those identifiers out, the callback rate jumped to 25%. The applicants did not get smarter. They did not gain experience overnight. They just became less identifiably black on paper. That is a roadblock. That is a checkpoint. That is something a white applicant with the same exact resume never had to think about. So when I say white privilege, I am not saying your life was easy. I am not saying you did not work for what you have. I am not saying you owe anybody an apology for surviving whatever you survived. I am saying that whatever you survived without one specific category of obstacle stacked on top of it. And that is worth being honest about. You can have had a brutally hard life and still have a knapsack you have never had to unpack. Both of those things can be true at the same time. They were both true for me. And once you can hold both of them, the term stops feeling like an attack and starts feeling like a description.
There's no such thing as white privilege. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, generally from a white evangelical. And of those two groups, I am one, and I used to be the other. So I speak their language. So my response to that has been, there is no God. And as soon as their head stops exploding, it allows for me to start a conversation that says, just because you haven't seen or recognized something does not mean it doesn't exist. I mean, there are millions of people across the world who don't believe in God, but you clearly do, because you have seen or experienced something that someone else may not have. The same thing is true of white privilege. I don't add the part that it's only because you're willfully blind that you don't see that there's white privilege. To be clear, I still believe in God. I don't believe in a lot of the teachings that the church used to indoctrinate me, but I still believe there is a God. And I have seen white privilege for a long, long time, especially working in the legal system. But this has been a way for me to start a conversation with people who otherwise just flat out ignore it and say, is it possible that there is something out there that you haven't seen, that you haven't experienced, that you are blind to, but it still exists? And they have to say yes to that, because if they don't say yes to that, then I can go back and say, well, there is no God, because you sure can't prove there is. And there's a whole lot more evidence to prove white privilege than there is to prove the existence of God. So, doesn't work on many people, but listen, if I can get through to one or two, that's one or two that will open their eyes. And while I've given up on a great number of people, I'm still holding out hope that we still can get through to a few. So, yeah, to be clear, there is white privilege. I know that. Go love your neighbor.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and if you don't believe in white privilege, here are 5 insane statistics that prove it exists. Number 1, despite making up 60% of the population, white people hold 86% of total wealth in the US. This is from a large combination of factors, but most notably ancestral wealth. Number 2, compared to men of color, white men make more for the same job. In fact, they make up to 34% more on average. The advantage white men have over other people really sets them up for success in life. Number 3, an author calculated that the cost of white privilege in her life exceeded $300,000 because of things like using family connections to get a job, inheriting
inheriting money and real estate, she's had almost a $300,000 head start compared to non-white people. Number 4, only 2% of Black households have a net worth of over $1 million compared to millions of white families. This isn't because Black families don't put in effort, it's because white families have been systematically given an advantage in society. And number 5, the average inheritance for white households is between $200,000 and $300,000, which means some white people are inheriting upwards of $300K from their family. Again, it's very easy to succeed when you have these advantages in life compared to those who do not. So please pay attention to your privilege now and in the future.
You want to talk about white privilege? I was born dirt poor. Roaches in our food, mattresses on the floor, eviction notices taped to the doors, kind of poor. My parents, their side hustle was beating me and my siblings bloody. I missed more meals than I can count. When we did eat, it was ramen, canned foods, or whatever we could steal from the gas station. There were 8 of us kids. Don't come at me like I grew up in some quiet backwoods town either. We weren't hearing deer rifles, we were hearing 9mm and Glocks on a nightly basis. Not because we were hunting, because we were dodging stray bullets in the inner city. I had a baby as a teenager, thought maybe I could break the cycle, went to college, flunked out quick. Life was swinging before I even had a chance to plant my feet. Then the military came knocking, promised me structure, a future, and a way out. What I got? Another flavor of hell. Straight out of basic, they shipped me to Afghanistan. 19 years old, couldn't buy a beer back home, but I could carry a rifle, kick indoors, and watch friends die in pieces. I came home to a wife who had cheated on me while I deployed, ended in divorce, missed my baby's first steps, first words, first everything. I got the title Dad, but only for 2 days every other week when the courts allowed me. So I drank, I numbed it out, I drowned it in alcohol and women, hopped from job to job, security, government contracts, even worked with the feds for a minute, but it all fell apart. I ended up homeless, ashamed, alone, and broken. Now, I've been sober for 4 years, been through more therapy than most folks can stomach, read hundreds of books, and here's what I figured out. As bad as I have had it, if I was black, I probably wouldn't have survived it. That ain't an opinion, that's truth. Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but 38% of the prison population. 1 in 3 black boys born today, they're expected to end up behind bars. That ain't by accident, that is policy. That's centuries of systemic racism passed off as justice. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery, it rebranded it. It says slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. That's why we got corporations making billions off of prison labor while folks inside earn cents an hour if they're lucky. That clause was written to target black Americans, and it's still doing exactly that. Now I run an organization called West Virginia Fights Back. We feed people, we take care of people. No strings, no red tape, no begging for scraps. We take care of our own because the government won't. My dream? A Fights Back chapter in every damn state. Abolish the prison industrial complex. Burn the cage down. Build something real in its place. Fred Hampton said, you can jail a revolutionary, but you cannot jail the revolution. This is not about shame. This is about responsibility. If you've had the privilege of not being targeted by the system, you've got the duty to help tear it down.
The biggest privilege white people have is not institutional access. Arguably, the biggest privilege that white people have is not having to be hyper-aware of their identity at all times. But keep in mind, I said hyper-aware. That doesn't mean that the white man doesn't know he's a white man and the white woman doesn't know she's a white woman. What it means is that they don't choose to or have to compartmentalize their identities constantly for survival or social proof. In the African community, in the black community, we are too aware of our identities as a result of our circumstances under colonialism, imperialism, and racism in this world. We spend most of our lives playing these word games about who's really black, Who's light skinned, who's dark skinned, who's brown skinned, who's really African, who's African American, who's ADOS, who's South African, who's really African, who's East African. We waste our time and our talent playing these identity politics when the real politics we need to be playing is the politics of material acquisition in international relations. In no way should we deny our experiences under colorism, under texturism, under tribalism. But if we spend our lifetimes, our efforts, our talents, and our energy focused towards these things, then what room do we have? What space do we have to acquire material conditions for our community? The light skins got stories, the brown skins got stories, the dark skins got stories, the African Americans got stories, the Caribbean Africans got stories, the immigrants got stories, the continental Africans got stories, the European Africans got stories. And again, I will never deny any of our experiences. But we tell these stories and we obsess over these stories and we build our identity upon these stories, but we never tell the story of our material conditions. If we're not addressing our stories under imperialism, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under the European patriarchy, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under colonialism, I think the other stuff can wait. If we're not addressing our stories under the prison industrial complex, under the healthcare system that disproportionately affects our women, I think the other stuff can wait. Which again, going back to the point of my video, is the reason why white people are ahead in this country. Because while they have the privilege to focus on their material conditions, you're worried about, do people like you or not? How beautiful are you to the beauty standard?
White privilege is only afforded to those who uphold white supremacy. And white people are learning that lesson now in a way that they have never had to before. A white woman was shot and killed in Minnesota because she aligned herself with people of color. This white woman was not the first person to be killed by an ICE agent. Let's be clear. The reason why it's going viral is because she's white. And the message here is very clear. They want you to know that as a white person, if you are not willing to uphold white supremacy, your white privilege will be revoked. Because that is the entire agreement in which whiteness stands upon. It is not a biological group. It is not a culture. It is a political category. It is a legal and social category created to be a buffer to prevent class consciousness. They were offered white privilege in exchange for aligning with the power structure against Black and Indigenous people. We'll get better jobs, better wages, better access to public spaces, and legal protection against brutality as long as you are a buffer class between the rich and wealthy and the exploited class. But if and only if you stand with the power structure. That is the contract. And it has always been enforced by violence. And this isn't new, right? The system only works if white people are compliant. It only works if white people align themselves with the power structure. Otherwise, there is nothing to protect the rich and wealthy against the exploited. Because guess what? We're all the exploited. This is the contract that your ancestors signed. But the problem was the privileges were always temporary. Now we're living in a world where even the white privilege has dried up. No more stable jobs, no more pensions, no more home ownership. The rich and wealthy have withdrawn the material goods. All has been hoarded by the 1%. All that is left is the psychological wage of whiteness, which is now being revoked in a public shooting. And now there's nothing left. There's nothing left. A system built on the foundation of exploitation of human capital was always going to be unstable. And now we are in the final stages of that instability. As a white person, this should be the final straw for you. No more white privilege, no more good jobs, no more home ownership. Now, no more protection from the police and government. You have no reason to continue to be the buffer class between the exploited and the rich. If this is not a wake-up call, I don't know what will be. You have been psychologically manipulated for half a millennia. Now they are finally showing you that they don't care about you either. So what are you going to do? How will you proceed? You have no more reasons to act indifferent to the changes happening in America. Because now white privilege is nothing but a cute fancy title. A credit card with no funds, babe. The system is officially bankrupt.
White privilege doesn't exist in Britain, and believing it still does in 2026 is quite embarrassing.
I don't think you should be using that word when you are the one manipulating the data, chap. Let's see what he does.
White people have the lowest college and university entry rate out of any other racial or ethnic group in the UK.
Education stuff is largely real, but white working class kids are being failed. That is a class problem, and that's been a problem for decades. Moving on.
White people are either on par or outperformed by a different racial group in manager, director, and senior official roles, and professional occupations.
These figures are real, he's just not reading them right. White people are 81% of the working population. So why are we surprised their percentage in any given profession looks low when you're putting it next to a group that's 4% of the population? That's not underrepresentation, that's arithmetic. Did you not check that, Michael?
If you do the maths for Manchester and London, which are already white British plurality cities, in less than 10 years, they will become white plurality cities.
Where did this come from? Because the ONS explicitly states it does not publish ethnic projections at city level. They just don't do it. The methodology doesn't exist. So who made this graphic? Was it you? And why does it say ONS on it? Look, this is what the pipeline looks like. Someone uses real data badly. They are very confident of their own abilities. They add fake data points confidently. And then young men share it before anyone actually checks what the fuck is going on.
They are not using their own hand to distance themselves because they know that every single thing that they literally told them was a lie. The white man lied to each other. They deceive them and make them believe that there is something called privilege that can literally work for them. Now they are coming to that realization and understanding that we have privilege, but even the people that do not have privilege are better than us. They are wasting more than us. They are growing more than us. Black excellence speaks every single day. So, does this privilege really exist? Should I still believe in privilege as a white person? In fact, I don't see any privilege here because I have privilege and I'm suffering more than those that literally do not have privilege. These are what a lot of white folks are not only realizing, but they are trying to also explain to a lot of people that the system has really crashed and failed them. You know, a lot of them grow up with this illustration of, oh, I am special, I am better, I am superior. Then they created this whiteness, the name called whiteness for themselves. Reclassified a lot of things, changed a lot of things, make a lot of things look like without them it literally cannot or does not exist. But now they are understanding that it's not working for us. It's even failing us the more. The more we think that we have this thing called privilege, the more backward we are going. It is time for us to sit down, adjust, and learn to work hard. Because no matter how we try to portray ourselves as though we have privilege, we still have this black community doing better than us. Buying houses, driving luxurious cars, wearing expensive clothes, spraying expensive perfume. So right now, privilege is dead and gone. If you have been conversant on my channel, you should know that I have never believed in privilege. Do you get? A lot of people can say, oh, if I'm a white person, I can go to a certain place and go and do it, but black excellence still speaks. It still speaks. A lot of them grow up on food stamps, EBT. While black children struggle to stand, struggle to go to school, even during the time of segregation, Jim Crow, even during the time of redlining, they stood firm Until date, the impact of black people is still speaking. So if you even ask me, I'm gonna tell you with my full chest that we blacks are the ones that should be proud and brag about privilege. But because the Europeans have lied to them, because the Europeans have deceived them, some of them still think they have privilege. That is why they can come and racially profile any black person, make it look like black people are their problem, make it look like any environment that they are. If they see a black person there, they have to do this, they have to do that. God of vengeance is really doing his thing. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And yes, guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like all I say in my videos. I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys.